Good afternoon. In the early lifespan of some speed games, most of the major skips get found pretty fast. These skips end up becoming the foundation for how you're supposed to beat the game as fast as possible. Some skips, however, seem possible in theory, but require a deeper understanding of the game's mechanics, and so routes usually remain the same for multiple years because it is thought that there is no juice left to squeeze out of the lemon. In Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus for the PlayStation 2, this was exactly the case. The route was solidified, figured out, mastered, all the way back in 2012. Or so they thought. A major discovery would hit the year 2020 that would lower the world record by over 9 minutes. Today, I will dive into this multi-minute saving discovery that went completely under the radar from the general public. I have seen no coverage of this trick anywhere, so I think it's very important that we talk about it today. This is World 4 Skip Explained in Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. It's difficult to trace back exactly when the first Sly Cooper any % run was performed, and even when I try to dig through Speed Demo's archive, the prime forum for speedrunning in the mid-2000s, I can only seem to find talks about Master Thief sprints, which are the game's time trials, and then a 100% segmented run that was submitted to the site on the 3rd of January, 2006. The person who performed the run may be a familiar name some of you might recognize. That's right, it's Trihex. Funny to think that he used to run the game all the way back then. The skip I'm going to cover today, however, would not be useful for the 100% category, so as much as I want to dive into this old Trihex run, there's really no point, unfortunately. So I'm going to jump forward a bit to what I consider to be where we should start for this story. So picture this. It's 2011, and Animeowsers is doing an any % speedrun of Sly Cooper at Awesome GamesDoneQuick. Most of the games ran at this marathon are in its relatively primitive stages, especially 3D games. The game at this point isn't even 10 years old. I'm going to use this run as a template for how you're supposed to beat the game, since the run follows a logical route through the game that even a casual player could understand and follow. The game is divided into an intro stage and then 5 worlds. The first 4 worlds of the game are played identical, with the 5th and final world being a string of levels leading up to the final boss. The first 4 worlds each have a central hub with many smaller sub-levels, but I'll refer to them as levels to avoid confusion. By simply finishing each level, we are rewarded with a key. This is used to progress through the game since you'll need a certain amount of keys to unlock certain things in the world. For example, when you've beaten every level in the first world, you'll end up with 7 keys. This unlocks a cannon that you use to fire yourself into a blimp where the first boss lies. The second objective for the levels is a safe. If you collect all of the clue bottles in each stage, usually ranging between 20 and 40, you can find a safe somewhere in the level that'll give you a special move. Animeowsers does actually get the roll ability in this run, since it was thought that it would save time throughout the run. This isn't the case anymore, and you do not get any special abilities for any %. Collecting the clue bottles simply takes too much time. The last objective are the Master Thief sprints I was talking about earlier, which is just a time trial for each level. The safe and the Master Thief sprints are always on platforming levels, but for the minigame levels you only get a key. So back to the run. Animeowsers gets roll, and then gets all the keys from World 1, and goes to the boss. He gets all the keys from World 2, and goes to the boss. World 3? Same thing. Oh, and World 4? You guessed it. All the keys. Pretty straightforward route with some minor tricks here and there. His time? 2:09:17. It would only be a year later until the runner Surreal would shave off almost an hour with his time of 1:10:17. How exactly did he do that? Well, it turns out you don't need to get all the keys for some of the worlds, which means you don't have to go to each level and beat them to get the key. This is specifically for World 1 and 2. It's unclear who found these big skips, but according to Surreal, it was a collaborative effort between older glitch hunters and runners, Triversaurus Rex, Serpin, and Animeowsers. For World 1, there are 2 obstacles in the way. The first one is a generator that require 3 keys to unlock the cage for. After it's broken, you can destroy it and go through the narrow tunnel on its right. However, this is skipped with the help of this guard on the roof right above the generator. If you follow him and get spotted right as you're nearing the edge, he will shoot a homing slime ball at you. You can move in a certain way so that the slime ball hits the generator and not you. This skips the requirement for the 3 keys. Our next obstacle is the cannon that I talked about earlier, and the 7-key requirement is bypassed with a technique known as super jumping. The way super jumping works is by abusing a mechanic in the game where falling off a level puts you back in the exact same spot as where you fell from. If you have a lucky charm which allows you to take an extra hit, you can fall into water or fall off a pit and survive, but this can be heavily exploited. By standing anywhere on the map, you can jump repeatedly and swing your cane right as you hit the ground. The game never updates your location on each jump, and when you fall off the map, get stuck, or fall in water, you fly back to the initial position you were standing at. In this case, it's behind the cannon since that is where you set your standpoint in the speedrun. You used to jump in the water for this trick, but it was later discovered that getting stuck between the platform and the raft was faster and skipped having to get a lucky charm. So how exactly does this skip the key requirement? First off, the game has a list of triggers that are active as long as they're loaded in. If the coordinates of Sly are within a certain threshold, or in other words, if he collides with the trigger will then activate. Turns out most of the game's triggers are always active, so if there is a way to collide with said trigger, it'll activate. So when Sly flies through the cannon, he hits the trigger, thus skipping to the first boss without getting any of the keys. There is one exception to this active trigger rule, but I will get to that way later. Moving on to World 2, we get a bit more complicated. First, you need to beat the intro level where you can then move on to the main hub. You had to do this for World 1 as well, so nothing new here. The boss loading trigger in the second world is sealed behind Mugshot's face thing. In any case, just like the first 2 worlds, there are 2 obstacles in our way. The first is yet another 3-key requirement for a car that is spinning out of control but is being held up. You need to free it so it drives at full force into the wooden planks on the right. This can be skipped with a clever technique that isn't exclusive to Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, and it's known as a proxy. By getting the character stuck in a certain spot, the game will try to prevent you from soft locking by being permanently stuck in that area, and its way of handling it is pushing you out of it. But this can be abused, as seen here. You go flying completely if done right, since the game assumes you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. This puts us out of bounds on the roof, and now we can access the World 2 interior. The next key requirement is 7 once again, where you reveal a switch from behind a locked wall. If you whack the switch, Mugshot's mouth shoots open like a carpet, and that is our entry point. If you're casual, of course. But if we continue on the roof out of bounds from the previous trick, you can set up a standpoint in a specific corner and start another super jump sequence that looks a little something like this. Right into the boss. Again, just like in World 1, by doing a sequence of super jumps, we go right through the loading trigger. From here, it's on to World 3. This is where things don't get as easy. World 3's 7-key requirement to get into the boss is a boiling platform sealed away by a bunch of locks. It's difficult to explain why a skip for this world hasn't been found, so I will let you watch how you get into the boss casually. Yeah, it's kinda different from the other 2 worlds. A skip for this world is easily the hardest one to crack, but I will return more to this trick later in the video. For now, let's move on to the real meat of this video. This is what you've all been waiting for. World 4 skip. Starting off, I once again want to show you what going into the boss casually looks like. Pretty similar to World 3. Well, this one collectively in the community felt more possible. All we really needed was the right tools and a deeper understanding of the game to finally crack the code. Just 2 months ago, in December of 2019, a glitch hunter by the name of tSparkles had been working on a mod menu for Sly over the Christmas, adding things like God mode and noclip. After fooling around with noclip for a bit in various areas of the game, he then had this to say. I then went over to World 4, and within 30 seconds of me flying around, I found the trigger. I didn't really think that much of it since it was so blatantly obvious that it was going to be there, so I thought that it had been found before. Regardless, I made a video and posted it in the Discord server. As you can see in the video, noclip allows you to fly anywhere you want. It's not allowed for runs for obvious reasons, it's a modification and ultimately a cheat. but it can be extremely useful in figuring out skips in its early stages. In any case, tSparkles finds the World 4 boss trigger inside of the panicking statue's head. This is where everybody got excited. People jumped on Discord trying to find setups and ways to get to the trigger. It only took 20 minutes until glitch hunter Paul said that he had successfully launched his way into the trigger. What needed to be found for this to work is a completely new technique, void drowning. In a way, this kind of resembles a super jump, but it can be used to fling you even further with great heights. The setup used involves getting out of bounds behind the level portal to Duel by the Dragon. You then set a standpoint just like with a super jump, and then you have to hit the water but barely clip over the edge so that Sly enters his drowning animation, but is also falling into the void. The launch happens once Sly's drowning animation ends, and it's pretty lengthy, which means you fall pretty far, and the further you fall only means a bigger launch. This setup works just right to fling you into the panicking loading trigger. At first, you needed the roll ability to get World 4 skip to work to cancel your momentum in the air, but this was quickly obsoleted. Later that day, the current world record holder Neon performs World 4 skip in a run for the first time.
No fucking way. Oh my god, dude, no way. I'm literally gonna lose my shit, dude.
Of course, the skip saves a massive amount of time, but the difficulty cannot be understated. It took Neon many tries to get this to work in the run, but because of the sheer amount of time the trick saves, he could still attempt it several times, and it would still be a new world record. That's how powerful this skip is. Even then, the current world record of 37 minutes flat, also by Neon, doesn't get the skip first try. Meaning lower is certainly possible, but nailing this massive launch on the first go with all the other difficult tricks in the run prior is daunting to say the least. Since the discovery, there are now two other ways to perform World 4 skip. One of the ways is by doing void drowning in a different corner of the map, behind the level rapid fire assault. This one only saves 2 seconds and is much harder, however, so it's currently not used. There's a beginner-friendly method that new players can use as well. It loses 20 seconds, but it is by far the easiest method, and Neon has a good comparison video regarding the differences in methods for World 4 skip. This all shook the community. The route for Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus has remained the same since 2012. Besides that, the core of the game remained the same. Yes, the movement is more optimized, the skips are more refined, but World 1 and 2 were always skipped, and World 3 and 4 were played as intended, getting all the keys required. Now, World 4 can also be skipped, saving a total of 9 minutes for any percent. This is a massive discovery for Sly Cooper, and a massive congrats to the community for figuring this out. I never thought this would have been possible when I ran the game briefly in 2017. But I'm not quite done, since there was something earlier I said I would cover later, and now you could probably see where I'm going with this. World 3 skip is the last big barrier the game would have left in store. If there was a way to get into Ms. Ruby's boss lair in World 3 without collecting the keys, that might spill the end for any percent once and for all. But the issue is that the loading trigger for the boss is the only exception to this all triggers are active rule. Here is what the world record holder Neon has to say about World 3 skip. So for whatever reason, World 3 acts differently than Worlds 1, 2, and 4 in that the boss trigger is there, but it isn't active at all times. The game only activates the trigger when Sly jumps on the platform and the cutscene is played. You can interrupt that cutscene and make Sly fall off the platform on the way up to the boss trigger. Doing so will lock the hub in the low gravity state that the game puts you in when you land on the platform to help Sly get up to the boss trigger smoothly. You can fly around in the hub world in low gravity, and only in this state the boss trigger is loaded. In Worlds 1, 2, and 4, however, the triggers are always active in the hub world no matter what. Getting to them was the only issue. World 3's trigger is the easiest to get to out of all of them, but it just isn't loaded until all 7 keys are placed, the platform falls, and Sly jumps on it, activating the cutscene. We are constantly testing new theories on World 3 skip. It doesn't seem possible, but we won't lose faith. This low gravity state can be seen in a clip where Neon slid off the platform on accident. I'd say his reaction was appropriate.
Yeah, you don't need to have your splits open for the run to get accepted, as long as you have a timer, Urson. Oh. Nice, Sly. What? Yo! What? Dude, what? No way! Dude, what? There's no way! Oh... Wait, can I still hit the cutscene trigger? Oh my god! Dude! What?
And I think we're going to leave it at that. World 3 skip is still a long way to go, but finding World 4 skip after all these years is an astonishing achievement. I want to thank Neon, Zenthro, tSparkles, and Augie for their contributions in helping me understand the technicalities of the skips, and also for helping me with the script. And a special thanks to everyone who helped me learn the game when I ran it for a short duration in 2017. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, as there is more videos of cool speedrunning history coming right up. I understand a lot of viewers watch me for my speedruns, but I'm going to be dedicating this channel entirely to video content from now on. I will be uploading everything else on an alternate YouTube channel I've named the Rixer's Speed Archive. Subscribe to that if you wish. I've also considered setting up a Patreon. It would help me upload videos more frequently. I didn't make one for this video since I want to be on the safe side, and I want to ask you, the audience, first if this is something you want to see more of before I make one. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. There will be more coming soon. Take care, and have a good one.